Hi everyone, how's it going? It's Ollie. Welcome to the next tutorial in this series of Java for Beginners. In this tutorial, we're going to be going over string functions. As you probably have already seen, the string isn't actually a built-in Java keyword. It doesn't highlight in blue, and also it doesn't follow the convention of staying in lowercase. String actually has a capital letter, and that's because the string is actually a Java object, and as such, it has its own methods that we can use. So if I make a string called name equal to Ollie, we can write name and then put our period, and we can see that there are many different methods we can use. Lots of them are self-explanatory, such as to lowercase converts all the characters to lowercase, to uppercase as well, similarly. And I'm not going to go over ones that are obvious. I'm going to go over a couple of ones that may not seem so obvious. So if I make another string called I can never think of good names for variables. I'm going to call it name2 because I'm so imaginative like that. So I have two string variables here. So if we wanted to make an if statement saying if name1 is equal to name2, you could see that this highlights in yellow, and that's because there's a warning. It says it says use equals, the equals method instead. So if I click on that, and I'm not going to generate it, I'm going to show you how we do it. If we say name, which is the string object, dot equals, like so, and then name2, which is the other one. And this is the best way to compare strings. You can compare them using the equals operand, but the problem with that is it's not going to test for sort of behind the scenes things, such as I can't think of them off the top of my head now, but it's stuff like the different characters and possibly like different languages for them as well. So using this equals method make sure it properly compares them together, rather than just natively comparing if the two objects are equal to each other. So I'm not going to I'm not going to do a case if this is true because we know how to use the if statement already. So that's how you should properly compare two strings: name or string1 dot equals string2. So I'm now going to show you the split function, and the split function basically separates a sentence based on, or not a sentence, sorry, just a string. It could be a sentence. It separates it via something called a regex, and the regex is basically the characters around which you wish to split it. So if we have a string called sentence and it's equal to the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, we can do something called split this string. So I'm going to make a string array because the split function will obviously return more than one string. If you're splitting it around the word jumped, for example, it's going to return this as string1 and then this as string2. So it's going to return a string array. So we're going to make a string array called data, for example, and it's equal to sentence dot split, and you'll see that we have two different ones. We have one that simply takes a regex, and the regex is around the character around which you wish to split it, or the string around which you wish to split it. The second one we have with the integer as a parameter as well, called limit, is how many times, what's like the max amount of times that it can be split around. So for example, if I split this string around the spacebar, just doing that is going to return each one of these words as a separate object. So I can show you this now by doing system.out.println and say we wanted to access the word fox. So splitting it around the space would mean this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So we can print out that data array 3 and hit run. You can see that the word fox prints out. But say we had a limit. Say we only wanted to split max 3 spaces. So it's going to split this first one, around the space, and this one. So that would be 0, 1, 2, and then it would do the third split here. So the quick and brown would be separate ones, and then fox jumped over the lazy dog would be another one. So I'll put the comma there to add the other parameter and give it a max split of 3. So then again it would be 0, 1, 2, 3. It should be 3 or 4. I'm not entirely sure. Let me just check. Alright, so it wasn't that. Oops. Yeah, so you see if I access data 2, so this is the 0th one, first and second, and after that second one there, it's basically reached the limit of the amount of splits it's going to do. So you can see it prints out the remainder of that sentence. So that's how we use the split function. We can split a sentence up into different parts into an array by using the regex. I'm now going to show you another useful function called trim. So say we had this sentence here, or for example, we were reading in a some text from a file, for example. It may have quite a lot of leading and trailing white space. And when passing data, when looking at data, we don't really want this white space. So what we can do is we can call the trim function. So we can say sentence.trim, and that's going to turn this sentence into basically just this bit in the middle. It's going to delete all that trailing white space and preceding white space. So if I print out the sentence beforehand, sentence like so, and then print it out again down here. So what is going to happen when we hit run? Well, we can see that it prints it out twice, but both of the strings are exactly the same. And the reason for this is that when you're doing string functions, pretty much every string function you're going to use is not going to apply the change directly to the string you're calling it from. It's actually going to return the string after this change has been applied. It's not going to apply it directly to that. So this method here is actually returning the value of the trimmed string, but we don't actually set that value equal to anything. So to actually physically trim the sentence we want, we're going to say sentence equals sentence.trim, and this method here returns the value and then sets it equal to itself. So we're going to hit run. And you'll see that in this case, this one has the white space like this, but this one has been fully trimmed. So that's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we're going to be going over try and catch.